Okay. Blast off, yes.
Hey, hi, everyone. We're here with Steve and Michele at Giving Back. Thank you so much for joining us. And right now we have the pleasure of having Miss Christina on with us. She's actually a podcaster here with Garrett Willie. And so they're part of BD Local. But she's here with us to talk about her business and her journey. And Christina, nice to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. So anyway, so not to tone down the tone, but we were just talking about how things are changing in the podcast world, or even in social media, and et cetera, et cetera. But I did not know that LinkedIn had groups now.
Yes, they're very important. No, everybody's everything's shifting. And it's all about really providing value, being of service. That's what people are looking for.
So that takes us of service. So that kind of takes us to you and Garrett's podcast.
Yes.
So how did all that come about? And it's know your why. I
Yes.
think that's what it's called. Yeah.
So it's all about knowing your why and your purpose in life. So the title of the show is Purposeful in Life. Really straightforward.
Yeah.
But Garrett and I met at a local networking group, Ignite You, and we just hit it off. I think we connected on Facebook, and I try to post every day on Facebook, something positive. There's a story behind that, but he connected with what I was saying, and we started talking about personal development, and we found out that we were reading the same books and, on the same path. So then BD Local, I was interested in doing a podcast, always have, and, so I'm like, I pretty much dragged him along when they had an open house. And I was like, you're coming with me, I'm not going alone. And no idea about doing a podcast or anything. And we happened to be the first ones there, so we got Tim, Sadie's husband, I want to say wife. Oh my gosh, it's morning. But we talked about him and his vision and what they want to do with the podcast. And we were so we looked at each other and we're like, we're doing a podcast. No idea what it's going to be about and how to do it and, anything like that. And yeah, that's how it happened.
That's kind of what I've been learning too. When you say self-development, a lot of times you just have to put it out there and then figure out how to do it.
Yes.
Not knowing, and we're kind of similar the same way. So you just said, I want to do a podcast, then you just figure out how.
Yeah. And for me, I know myself, part of the development journey, right? That I have ideas and I'm an action taker, but I need someone else beside me to, really push me when it's go time. So that's why, I don't know, I love you, Garrett, but I'm really glad we're doing this podcast, though.
Right on.
Well, in part, that's what I've seen about you. You're always posting. You're always putting out there, putting really good stuff.
Thank you.
And positive, and get people talking about their health. And so tell us a little bit about what actually you do, what your business is.
Yes. I have to go back real quick because just you mentioned that positivity and the health part. I'm from Germany. I should have mentioned that before for anybody wondering about the accent.
Yes.
Yeah. But I had I struggled with my health ever since I was in my early teens. And, running from doctor to doctor. And I think I was 16 and I asked the specialist, another specialist yet again, what can I do? And they just looked me in the eyes like, you can't do anything. We can manage it, but at some point, you're going to have surgery and you're just going to have to deal with it. And I'm like, but I'm 16. Right. I have
Surgery's
so many.
Scary.
Yeah. And, I have two things. I have an autoimmune and I have a back problem. And with the back problem and the autoimmune, pretty much both of the specialists said, well, if you can have kids, you're going to have problem. You're just going to have problems with, having them. And then also the whole pregnancy and afterwards, just how my body composition is. And I'm like, well, that sucks. I was actually really scared about it, right?
Sure.
And then on top of all of that, I grew up with a lot of limiting beliefs, and really in the system. Like in Germany, you pretty much have to know what you want to do at a later life or later in life at around 11. So elementary school are 4 years, and then you can choose between 3 different schools. And only one of those schools leads to college. Any of the other 2, you don't even have the chance to go to college.
Wow.
So you have to figure out.
Pick quickly.
Yes, exactly. So everything's like system-based, and you have to choose and all of that. And I chose that route, not even knowing what I want to do with life, and went
Of course,
through
at
the
11? Oh my
yeah. I don't know. Like back then, I think it was wanting to be a teacher because they're actually really very well paid in Germany. But yeah, I went through school system, went through college, and while I was still in high school, I actually met my husband. He's in the military, about to retire this month.
Yay!
But my whole life, was upside down because he's definitely going back to the States or wherever the Army sends him. And so what am I going to do? I have to figure something out that works everywhere, right?
Sure.
So I went to college, did my business administration. I really liked it, and now I understand why I did it. It all makes sense right now because I focused on marketing and international management.
Okay.
And we did a lot with international management, we did a lot of cultural development. And that they're, just because they might have the same, it's a first world country and all of that, there's a totally different culture, and there's different things how you do business. Everything's different. So that was really cool.
I mean, between Europe or Germany and the
Yes.
United States, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Or like we did this, and we also did Germany and Asia, which is again completely different.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah. So what was the question? So anyways, getting to it, I promise. All of that, like in my mid-20s, I was pretty much at a breaking point, burnout, 5 medications, and right there to surgery because I got injections and after injection and nothing worked. I was constantly in pain. And that's when I'm like, and the tipping point was when a friend that I hadn't seen in a few years told me, well, Christina, you look shitty. I'm sorry. Like literally to my face. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that sucks. So what do I do now? And she gave me some pointers where to start. And a big part of it was my mindset because I was so negative. I blamed everything on everybody else. I didn't do anything myself. I didn't take responsibility. And so that was a big wake-up call.
Sure it is.
But also the medical community told you couldn't do anything.
No. And so the traditional medical community told me I could do nothing. They just gave me the pills and all of that. And then I went to naturopath, chiropractors, all of that. And they told me, oh, you have to change your life. You have to pretty much live in a bubble because no stress. That's a big factor. And then you have to change your diet. So no gluten, become a vegetarian, possibly vegan, no sugar. And I'm like, I'm from Germany. Like, I have a bakery on every corner.
Right.
I can't do that. Like, I tried. I did. But again, and that's mindset too,
Yeah.
where I wasn't there.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
Right.
So, yeah, it took me a while. And I still, to this day, I still eat sugar and gluten.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Well, the fact that gluten is almost in everything, and sugars and everything. I mean, you
Yes.
really, really have to. We really have to dive into that. We had Michele Marconi on our podcast a while ago, and the fact that she doesn't do any of that, it boggles my mind. But again, it's just a mindset, right?
It is, and it takes work. You have to put effort into it.
Well, you have to commit to it, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of people. They think they'll start something for a bit and then they'll fall off. I mean, I do that. I'll start
Yes.
something and really I put my mind to it. I switched on. It's go time, and the next thing you know, it's like 3 days later. I'm like, what? Did you just bring home a pie? What is that? That's illegal to have into our house right now,
Yeah.
right?
How dare you?
Yeah.
Well, so
It wasn't Steve.
so
Oh.
yeah, her brother's staying with us. Hey,
Oh.
what was the point where you changed? Like, was there a one moment where you're taught the metal you can't do anything, and your mindset was kind of going along that spiral? Because I know they're telling you can't do anything, so you're
Yep.
putting that in your mind. What
Yes.
was it that caused you to?
I think one of the first ones when that friend told me that
You look shitty.
You look shitty. Yes. To repeat that, I was like, okay, I have to do something. And my dad had a very crazy health story and recovery, and he worked with a company from the States here, and I'm like, I was always refusing. I didn't take any of that because I didn't believe in it, all that natural stuff, whatever. Since obviously doctors told me it doesn't work, so
Yeah.
it doesn't work. And but at that point, I'm like, it helped my dad. Might as well try it, right? And I did, and I wasn't even consistent. Like I was on and off, and of course I had to pay for it, so I didn't,
Right,
buy it
so then-
regularly.
Yep.
And just whenever I thought about it, but I wish I had written down when I started and when I felt something, but it probably only took 3 months, but I would say 6-7 months into it. We were in Virginia at that time, and we were at a Christmas parade, and it was freezing outside, and we were late because of me, because I'm always late to things. But we had to stand. Everything else was taken, and we stood there for I would say at least 3-4 hours
Wow.
for
Yeah.
the whole thing to be over, and the waiting and going back to the car. And walking back to the car, I realized, wait a second, like what? I feel good. Like usually I couldn't stand for a long time. I couldn't sit. I couldn't lay down. Everything just hurt constantly. I'm like, well, that's weird. And I still didn't make the connection right away. Like it still took me weeks, months probably. And then I started reading some more natural books about vitamins and minerals and how everything works together, and that it really is the necessity that makes your body recover naturally and on its own pretty much if it has everything it needs. So that's when that point was, right? And then pretty much a few months later, I was working at a company, and I was really admiring the CEO because I was always, at that point, I was a career person, the traditional career, right?
Yeah.
Right,
I wanted to be
right.
the marketing manager, which I was at that time, but have even more responsibilities and maybe become the CMO of a company, and so on. And the CEO I admired because he was also from Germany, and he was 35 at that time. And I'm like, how did you do that? How did you become a CEO at 35? Like, that is amazing, right?
You're like 20 years too young.
Yeah, exactly. And he got everything. He got it under control. He was really good at what he did, right? But I always 3 months after he took the job, I saw all the coffee at his desk, all the energy drink at his desk. He was constantly at work. Like when I came home, when I got there to work, he was there. When I left, he was still there. Like constantly. And one day he just ran by my desk, and I'm like, if you continue doing that, it's not going to be healthy for you, right? And he just looked at me and he's like, well, I know that I'm going to have a heart attack at 40. And I'm like, what? That's not the plan. And that's when I was like, wait a second, okay, I still want to have kids. I don't want to have that hectic lifestyle and where I can't
There you
decide
go.
what I do,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, okay, let's start. What do I want? I didn't even know what I wanted. And
You
then
just knew that you didn't want that.
exactly,
Yeah.
which is good, not knowing what you don't want, right?
Sure.
But not knowing what you do want is
It's a bigger journey.
It is. But then I asked myself, what would make me happy? Because I started reading more on social media about it, right? And the first thing the first book that I came across while I typed into Google, like, what is happiness, was The Happiness Project. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a good idea because I need this right now. And I walked through this book and it like opened my eyes to that so many different questions and the little things in life and how to be present in the moment and what really is, what happiness means for you and trying to figure that out. So I think that was like that first many moments that just led up to that.
Wow.
Sure, because you're ready to receive. And so sometimes all these things happen and you have a different path that you think, but there's always a higher power that has a different path for you. And when you're ready for that path, I really believe that your eyes open up.
And yes, and I love that you said that because I do believe the same thing. And I also believe that you get the nudges and a lot of people probably are aware of those nudges, but they don't dare to follow them because they're like, they still have those limiting beliefs like, who am I to follow this or who am I to do this, right? And but it will always pull you towards that no matter where. If you say no now, wait a few months, there's going to be another one.
Because it's always a correction on that path. You know,
just have to be aware that they happen and
yes.
that you acknowledge, wow, okay, I think something's telling me you don't quite understand, but you got pulled, and so you got on this health and what you're doing now. Was that what the program your dad put you on, or?
No, like he pretty much, he didn't do any the extra things, the extra advantages that this program offers. But I wanted to do it. Like right now what I'm doing is I have a community, private Facebook community, because the people I help are like, all over the place. So it's hard to just be in one, having a local group or anything. But it's all about, yes, there are natural alternatives. There's, the vitamins and minerals and all of that. Great. But just because you do that is not going to change your life.
No.
It's just not going to happen. So we have we have motivation because that's what I'm about. The mindset changes. Like I love seeing the switch flip in people's eyes. Like when that fire comes back on and they're like, ooh, okay, I can do this. Yes, you can, and you can answer that yourself and putting that magic back in them, right? Being inspirational and having that accountability though too, to do the workout, and it's not like a full fitness gym workout, whatever, but we do different types, similar things like yoga, really easy for beginners, which just reminds me I haven't done mine today. So great. But also my friend is a physical therapist, so she puts together like a HIIT program or different intensive workout programs that anyone can do at home. They're like 12 minutes long. It's really easy, right? And different recipes and snacking ideas, because yes, we all know what we shouldn't eat, but then who tells us, so what can we eat, right?
Exactly.
So all of that.
Because I always thought that, hey, you just eat your fruits and vegetables, right? Well, I love fruit. I like vegetables.
Yeah.
But if you're if you're trying to lose, sometimes fruits aren't great right now because they're so high in sugar. And you look at it like, oh, well, it's natural sugar. Sugar's sugar, everybody. Just an FYI. Yeah.
And then also, like, I did a lot of research on that too, because, everybody's like, oh, just eat healthy and all of that. But besides the point that they are losing the value, the fruits and vegetables, losing the nutrients that are in there, like for example, an apple like in the supermarket is up to 5 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that. Like, I want a fresh one, right? I remember my dad had a garden and we had apple trees, and every October we would get them, and they didn't look pretty, but they were so good.
Right.
Yeah, I heard that the apples that you're getting in the store, they're at least a year old.
Yep.
And I didn't know 5 years, but at least
up to 5 probably.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then like the other thing that I also found out on my journey is like, because everybody's like, oh, eat organic and all that. Well, the organic, yes, it has less toxins and chemicals in it, but it still has toxins and chemicals in it. They just at a lower level.
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
well, great. So,
Lower level and
besides that.
$2 extra.
yes, there you go.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
But one thing I'm learning from you and what I've heard, I've experienced, don't just listen to the medical community or don't accept that what one person says as is fact.
Yes. So go ahead.
No. I'm just basically kind of, that at least so I can see it for you. If you'd have just accepted that, you would have not been gone through surgery and
Yep.
all that. Now you didn't have surgery, right?
And I may add, you do have a beautiful little girl who
Thank
helps you with all of your social media.
Yes. She always wants to sing. She always wants to be in pictures and, poses and do things like it's crazy. But to your point with not listening, yes, you should listen to doctors because, they have insights that you don't really get. But what I'm advocating for is feeling in your body because you know how you feel. The other person doesn't know that. So if you make a change, if you say, and that's what we do in the group is we have like a wellness assessment and a checklist every day. So you can check like where you're at, check in with yourself. And also with the assessment is like, how do you really feel? Like sit down, close your eyes. What hurts? What feels better, like all the differences. And make sure when you do change your diet or you take supplements or you start working out, that give it a week, 2 weeks, and then reassess, like, do I feel a change? What else might I need to shift? There are all the different things, but become aware of what's going on.
That's excellent because for me, I have an autoimmune disease too. I have a psoriatic arthritis, and it really exploded back a year ago. And doing research, actually, Michele, we found out that nightshade vegetables have like tomatoes, potatoes, peppers have an impact on someone with my condition. And so I eliminated them. But tomatoes and potatoes and peppers are a big part of my diet. How can I do this? But actuality, listening to my body is thanking me for it.
Yeah.
My weight is off, and I'm feeling better. And you're right. Now that you say listening to your body, I never would have known. My doctor, my rheumatologist, never said anything. Oh yeah, well give up tomatoes, potatoes, and he said not even alcohol. And I've pretty much stayed away from alcohol as well, once in a great while. But and I feel good, so that's great. So that's a point about like listening to your body, how it impacts.
And the problem with it is why they can't say it is because there are not enough studies, and they don't learn it in school.
Right. No.
So it's not technically their fault. But they could do some research on their own. So
Exactly. They could go to Google University like everybody else sometimes.
Yes. And there are tons of good books out there, like neutral books that are not paid by pharma. So
Right. Exactly. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so thank you for getting out there and being a presence. How do you feel over like doing all your lives, and did it take you an adjustment to become to do stuff like that? Did you have to watch out your ums too?
Oh my gosh, yes, where do I start? So I'm a very shy, timid, introverted person when I got to the States, or I was. I'm not anymore. And again, because I was told by a teacher, oh, you're introverted. And that just stuck with me through the whole school system, right? And I'm like, but I'm not. Like, I always felt like I'm not. Like, I love to connect with people, and I love to go out and, have fun. And it took me a while. Like, I started posting on social media probably every day or consistently 2 years ago. And when I see the, what are they called? The memories. Yeah, the memories on Facebook. there were like landscape pictures or like a quote. I never had a selfie. And now like when you look at my page, it's like selfie, selfie, selfie.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hated myself. I hated my voice because first of all, everybody always told me you're too quiet. Like I don't hear you. Speak up. And I'm like, I hate that. Don't tell me that, right? And then coming here, everybody pointed out, oh, you have an accent. And I'm like, well, you say it like it's a bad thing, so I'm just going to shut up and not talk, right? So I had to learn to really accept that.
Yes.
And that, again,
Yeah.
is on your journey, even when you're struggling with yourself. Like I have Hashimoto's, so thyroid. And I firmly believe that my thinking and all that belief system, yes, with a lot of physical, the toxins and virus and whatever I had to trigger this, but also me always swallowing everything and never saying anything had an effect on
yeah,
that.
definitely has an effect on that.
Yeah, I had to learn that. And I had to learn to love myself. And like, if anything, I would say always start there. Love yourself where you are at right now. No matter if you think you are overweight or you don't have anything to offer, love everything about you right now. And that's another thing I love to do with the people I coach, or I don't want to say coach, mentor, or guide on their journey, to really understand that everything, they already have everything and they're just perfect, and everything they dream of can be a reality by pointing out what they already achieved, because it's the little things that add up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has just been a pleasure of having you here and seeing
Thank
you
you.
again. We don't get to see each other
know.
except for on a little box, little screen.
Yeah, the Zoom.
So-
Zooms.
Yes. So anyways, the joyful life. Thank you so much, Christine, for being here.
Can we have? Can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
On social media, pretty much, if you put, or even Google, if you look for Joyful Life, Joyful Living, I come up. Facebook, Instagram. I do TikTok videos. I had a comment that they're entertaining, so maybe you want to check them out. I try to educate with them too, not just entertain. And yeah, pretty much. And I know that Sadie, if it worked, also put my website in there. If not, we put it in the comments. So perfect.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Christina. And good luck with your podcast and continued success, and keep posting.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.